We've seen some different cases in the U.S., Disneyland and everything, in Toronto too. Does it scare you a little bit or not? That, like for example, measles could be back and spread.
It doesn't scare me. I mean, it turned out that the measles that is being spread around right now isn't even the kind that's vaccinated against in the MMR vaccine. So that's kind of funny that, you know, we've had all this big hype about a measles epidemic that we don't even vaccinate against. So blaming people who are unvaccinated is kind of silly. But in terms of measles, it's basically like a bad flu with a rash. And my kids are quite healthy, and I feed them really healthy food, and I take really good care of them, and I think that we would be able to handle handle measles or chicken pox, which I had as a child, or rubella or mumps or any of most of the other diseases. Like I said, there's only really two diseases that we vaccinate for that kind of freak me out, diphtheria and tetanus, and when you read about the vaccine for those diseases, it's actually scarier than the diseases themselves. And so, you know, I had to decide for myself that I felt more comfortable taking the chance and taking the risk of my child contracting a temporary disease rather than a chronic illness that could last their whole life.
What do you think of all those the anti-vaxxers who have a very bad rep these days? Is it because some are a little bit of a on the conspiracy side, maybe, that would give a bad image to your way of thinking? You know, this is a bad plot from the big pharma. This is because there's autism. It's linked and everything. Do you think that everybody's trying to amalgamate everything in one anti-vaccine stuff, and that give a bad reputation to your thinking, basically?
I think that the people who are choosing not to vaccinate, by and large, are people who have had an adverse reaction in their family or someone they know, and people who are learning from those people and don't want to have that same experience. And it's easy to feel like there is a conspiracy to cover up the harms of vaccines when you've been through an adverse reaction like I have and had the medical establishment deny that the vaccine could have caused it. You have to wonder, why won't my doctor acknowledge that this vaccine disabled me? Why is that? If my doctor read the product insert or was educated enough about vaccines to know what the potential adverse reactions are, he would have most certainly said to me after my first shot, I think you should reconsider getting the next inoculation, that you may be having an adverse reaction, and I'm concerned that if you take another shot that it could have very bad effects or ramifications for you. And had he said that, how different my life would be now, and how different my family's life would be. And if my doctor had recognized an adverse reaction when he saw one, which he did, he saw one and he denied that it could possibly be, but if he had recognized it and acknowledged it, that would have given me the strength to also look at, are vaccines right for my family? If I'm having an adverse reaction, and genetics play a role, which everyone says they do, then perhaps my children would be susceptible to a reaction. And that might explain why my two older children have learning issues and health issues, and my youngest doesn't. Because in our family, genetically, we are susceptible. You know, this is something that our health professionals should be educated about. If they are truly here to help us with our health and care about helping us with our health, then why are they not educated about the dangers of vaccines, and why are they so reluctant to tell us when we've had an adverse reaction? You know, that is why people get suspicious of a conspiracy. I don't think it's because they're crazy conspiracy theorists. I think they want to ask a very relevant question, which is, we know vaccines can and do harm, so why do we deny it when they do?
Yeah. Okay, good. 2 shots. Kids can be mean between them. Does your third child have any trouble sometimes with other kids because they know, oh, he hasn't been immunized? So
it hasn't happened with my youngest.
Okay.
My oldest daughter, when she was in grade 6, it was the first year that she had school immunizations, and I was the only parent who decided not to get the vaccines. HPV was one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very dangerous vaccine that I recommend parents research deeply. I was the only parent in the school who said no, and so my daughter on vaccine day was the only child who did not get vaccinated. And she has been teased quite relentlessly by some of the other children who went home and told their parents that, oh, you know, my friend at school didn't get vaccinated. And the parents were quite hostile about it. So they came back to school, and my daughter was told that her mom's an idiot and her mom's all these horrible things, and I'm endangering the planet and all this kind of stuff. But you know, I'd like to ask people, when's the last time you had your vaccinations? All the adults out there, when's the last time you were vaccinated? More than 10 years? You're just as dangerous as my unvaccinated child. I mean, the majority of people in our society are essentially unvaccinated because they haven't had their vaccines in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's that dangerous to be unvaccinated, then I wonder why people aren't rolling out the huge plan to have every adult booster shots done immediately, you know? It's because it's not a danger. It's because we're not a danger.
Mm.
Our healthy immune systems,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Our healthy immune systems are not a danger to your children. What's a danger to your child is toxic things in the environment and bad food and unhealthy living conditions. That's what's dangerous for your child. And anyone who would suggest to me that I take a risk of... It's okay. Anyone who would suggest to me that I take a risk of vaccinating my children after what I've been through and after the information that I've learned from my research needs to do the same research.
So it's personal, anyway.
It is personal.
Okay.
But it's also, I think that if someone has never experienced an adverse vaccine reaction and they don't know what it's like and have never been through it, then I don't feel that they are entitled to express an opinion on it.
Okay. Perfect. So the visual now with the picture, maybe.